Well, let's get our acceleration here. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2021 Toyota Tacoma Trail Edition, and with all that being said, let's just get right into the review. Under the hood of the Tacoma, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 278 horsepower and then 265 pound-feet of torque, with fuel economy being 18 around town and then 22 on the highway. Now, before we go over the front end, don't worry, no fingers were harmed on the closing of the hood. The hood is very, very heavy, but I know exactly where to place my fingers so that it doesn't get smashed. But anyways, first off, this paint color is just absolutely beautiful. Now, I chose this time of the day so you guys could really see it. Obviously, it's not in direct sunlight, but I feel like this just really shows the color. Now, coming down below, we've got the projector bulbs, as you can see here on the front end. We've got the fog lights just down below that. And then notice how I have the chrome accenting around the front with the Toyota logo that does double as a sensor. And then we have the higher ground clearance bumper. We do have an air dam there at the very bottom, and actually has some tow hooks integrated into it, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, other than that, that is everything for the front end. Now, coming on the side here, we've got two 65mm tires wrapped around 16-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And you can see here with the design on the wheel itself, it's dark metallic gray, pretty closed off. Definitely has that off-roader type look, which makes sense because it's the Trail Edition, right? And then you can see the tires, a little bit more on the aggressive side, right? And then there's a quick look at the front suspension. Notice how we have the large fender flares, got the blacked out Tacoma badge here. The mirror is two-tone with the body painted portion on the top, and then they did the door handles body painted as well. And then we do have the SR5 badge there on the back because the Trail Edition is built off of an SR5 Tacoma. And then other than that, there is your full side view on the Trail Edition. Now, here's a key fob for the Trail Edition, pretty basic stuff. And yes, you do have to stick it into the ignition like normal. You guys will see that a little bit later. But first off, we have a slow lowering tailgate that paused there in the middle. 990 pounds of payload capacity. Towing capacity is roughly 6,000 pounds with the truck. And something that's cool that this truck has is it's got the boxes here. So if you do like fishing, for example, a lot of your gear and everything you can put in here, and notice how you have the little kind of like plug area, and then I'll show you guys the other side. But yeah, that's kind of like the use that I imagine would make the most sense with this. I mean, you can put whatever you want in these ultimately because they're lock boxes, but I just thought fishing gear, I don't know, that's what made sense to me. But aside from the lock boxes, we also do get a full outlet here in the bed, and then notice how the whole bed is protected, so you don't have to worry about scraping paint or anything like that, which is definitely nice. And it continues onto the tailgate, and well, ooh, that's all. Now, finishing things here in the rear, you guys probably just noticed the truck just automatically locked. Toyotas have that where they lock after a certain time frame. But anyways, you guys can see the taillights right here. You've got the blacked out badge and then the Tacoma logo stamped into the bed. Receiver hitch down below. There are parking sensors here on the back, and then the V6 badge to let everyone know that you got the V6 truck. And then you guys are probably wondering about the spare tire. You can see, just like with most of the trucks, it's hidden underneath. And then there's a quick look at the shocks there in the rear of the truck. And other than that, that's all for the back. Now let's go over the door panel here in the rear. So you can see you've got soft touch where you're going to rest your arm, and then the window control there for the rear. And then here are the seats. So you've got full cloth seats. I really like the pattern there in the center of the seats, and they're actually comfortable as well. You can see the stitching. And just like most Tacomas, I mean, I'll show you guys, space back here is pretty okay. You guys can see legroom, and also no socks today. Pretty weird. And then headroom as well. Got some cup holders right there, and well, let's head to the front. Now here's the door panel at the front. So again, you can see all of the soft touch on the door panel, and then you can see the mirrors. They do have blind spot monitoring. And then we've got the window controls here, automatic there for the driver one, the mirror adjustment. And then here's the seats at the front. So just like we have in the back with the patterning and then the stitching here on the side, they are power adjustable. There's the pedal layout down below. We have the rubber floor mat here. We've got the stability control. That's for the outlet there in the bed if you're wearing, and then the cargo light. And other than that, there's one more look before we pop in. Do, 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 do. Here's the steering wheel in the Trail Edition. Notice how you have kind of like smoother leather here at the top and at the bottom. Then you've got perfect leather here on the sides. You get a nice, good grip, especially when you're going down the trails with the Trail Edition. Cruise controls peeping there in the back. I did use it earlier in the week. It's an adaptive cruise control system, which is pretty impressive on a truck at this price point, I'd have to say. Really good system. Got lane departure assistance. And then you can see the controls for the center stack, your voice command, volume controls, phone controls, all that normal stuff. Turn signal, light stock, windshield wiper stock, you know the usual. There's a steering wheel. Here is the center gauge cluster. You can see the RPMs, and then you can see the speed, and then we will go into my fuel economy so you guys can see what I've been averaging. You know, I've got the Ben Hardy lead foot, so that's just how I drive. You could probably get quite a bit better than that if you're more reasonable with driving. But yeah, that's everything for that center gauge cluster. Now here's the infotainment system. Response time on this system is really good. So like when you press the buttons, you have a really good response time. So you guys can see, definitely easy to use. And then also camera system. You can see we got the backup camera. Trajectory lines don't turn with the steering wheel. It's a fixed little picture with that. But yeah, overall, easy to use. I've used it with my phone and everything, and it's been great so far. So yeah, I'd have to say it's a good system. Now down below, we've got dual zone climate. We have our drive line select. This has 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel high, and then 4-wheel low. And then you have the defrost in the rear. That's for the blind spot monitoring. And then this is mostly for towing. You've got the parking sensor right there. And then this is for the power sliding rear window. So you just have to press the button down and then it'll open it. A lot of mid-sized trucks don't have power sliding windows, which is interesting. So it's good that the Tacoma has that. Got some charging ports, cup holders, shifter for that 6-speed automatic, and then more storage here with the brake. And then you can see the center console with some more USBs down there. Tons of places to charge devices. And then you guys can see the center console. And then there's not much to see up here. We've got a sunglass holder, basically lighter colored headliner, and yeah, that's it. So here's our window sticker for the Trail Edition. So notice that it doesn't say anything about it being a Trail Edition. It just says SR5 4x4 double cab, and then it's finished in cement, which again, I really like that color. Sorry about the ink spill on the printing with this, but you guys can freeze a frame if you want to read everything. But you're probably most interested in the Trail Edition. So it's $1,775, and what it gives you is those wheels that we went over, which are 16 inches. It gives you the bed storage, which we also went over, and then it gives you the limited style front grille, again, that we went over. And then on top of that, it gives you the all-weather floor mats, and then also it gives you those tires. So I think overall it's a good value for everything you're getting in the package. But this particular truck, after all the options it has, stickers for $41,193. Let's take it out and see how it drives. So let's talk about visibility before we set off here in the Tacoma. There's visibility over the hood, both the mirrors, there, blind spot, throughout the rest of the rear, and let's set off. Well, let's get our acceleration here. You can see it's pretty decent for a mid-sized truck from an acceleration standpoint. The 6-speed automatic does hold the Tacoma back a little bit. And I mean, this V6 at this point is slightly underpowered compared to the competition. The truck that kind of was set to beat the Tacoma was the new Frontier. And, you know, from a spec standpoint, that has a 9-speed automatic, and the 3.8 liter V6 in that has over 300 horsepower. So yeah, just it does, the acceleration for a mid-sized truck does feel slightly lackluster, but obviously you have the Toyota reliability and durability, and so you are kind of, you know, giving up a little bit of acceleration and having, you know, a slightly older powertrain, but then you're getting a powertrain that is very robust and very reliable. Turn-in's pretty good. There's like no feeling through the steering with the Tacoma. There's quite a bit of like on-center vagueness with the steering. It's not horrible, it's not unsafe or anything like that. But you know, from a feeling perspective, there's not a whole lot. You can tell what the front end's doing a little bit, but it's not super communicative. It almost kind of reminds me of like a Jeep Wrangler in a way, from a communication standpoint. But moving on from that, ride quality is actually really smooth. That's something I've been very impressed with the Tacoma, daily driving this and on the highway and everything. It's very smooth and comfortable at high speeds, and when you go over bumps, it doesn't upset the truck. So it's just it's got a really smooth, compliant ride quality to it, and Toyota's just done a really good job. So I'm very impressed with that. And then from a road noise perspective, it's, you know, it's pretty minimal. You have pretty small wheels with the Tacoma, and you've got a little bit higher profile tires, so it makes for, you know, pretty quiet ride experience overall. And then seat comfort is it's pretty good. These cloth seats are pretty comfortable to sit in. I mean, I have had no complaints. Again, I've done a ton of highway miles on this for trips in, you know, excess of like 100 miles in one trip, and it's done a really good job. So I've been very pleasantly impressed and surprised with that, with these seats. And so yeah, that'll give me just kind of summing things up here with this Tacoma Trail Edition. And let's kind of talk about the trail stuff. So the Trail Edition basically gives you some extra utility from a storage perspective, because it gives you the stuff in the bed, and then you get the tires and the wheels that are a little bit better for off-road use. Now, oh, that C8 Corvette looks really cool. This is not a hardcore off-roader by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, and you guys will see that in my off-road review when I take this off-road. Is it's kind of like the, you know, it's in the name, Trail Edition. This is where you go on trails to go camping, right? That's kind of what I imagine this being used for. Not like any crazy rock crawling or any Baja driving or anything. Just, you know, take it on a nice little drive on a camping trip, basically. But I guess as for an overall package, it's very reasonably priced. It looks pretty good on the outside, especially in the cement color. Interior is great. It's got decent safety tech for the price. So all things considered, I guess for a rating on this one, I'm actually going to rate it pretty high. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. The reason I'm giving it such a high rating, despite the lack of performance from the powertrain, it's very reliable, so that does bring up the score with the powertrain, even though I would like more performance out of it. But everything else about this truck is really good, and it's at a very reasonable price point. $41,000 for a truck that has blind spot monitoring, has some off-road capability, has good storage space there, and the bed as well, and just is a very, you know, multi-purpose utility vehicle. I think it's a really good value. And when you compare it to something like the TRD Pro, what those are going for, this definitely does feel like a little bit of a bargain. So I think solid. Now that's going to sum things up for our video on this 2021 Toyota Tacoma Trail Edition. And with all that being said, I'll see all of you in the next video.